Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Knowledge or Nonsense. And I am your host, Chimere CeCe Curry. I am so happy to have you guys here today. First, I need to do a quick disclaimer. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but I am not feeling myself, so I'm gonna bring the energy as much as I can. But forgive me and give me a little grace if I don't, y'all. I also got a new puppy, so if you hear her crying in the background, just give me a little grace. We're gonna make it through, okay? All right. So we have a awesome episode today. We are going to be talking with Leila Price, and we are talking about education in healthcare. All right, in SPD. So I want to give you guys a little bit of background about Leila. I love her. She is awesome. I met her for the first time last year at HSPA conference. And so we were in a dinner, and at that dinner, she just said, "Man, did you speak today on the Wow Factor?" And I said, "Yeah." She's like, "Oh my gosh, I heard it. It was awesome. I was right across from you." And everybody was like laughing. And we were like trying to figure out, man, what are they talking about? And I really wanted to see it, but I couldn't because I was teaching my own class. And so she's like, I really would like to have you to come and speak for the chapter. And I never forgot her from that moment because in that moment, I realized that the information that we were given was received because she found out about us through word of mouth and what we were talking about through word of mouth. And so while people in the class were saying how well it was, and how much they liked it, it really resonated with me when someone who I didn't know from the man on the moon came and said, "Hey, I heard you did an amazing job, and I would really like to have you speak for my chapter." That's when I said, "Man, this was really good. We really did something here. We really helped today." So Leila, I know you can see this in the background. Thank you. I appreciate you. Before we bring her in, I want you guys to go ahead, like, subscribe, let us know who's in the house, because as you know, we love to see it. So let us know who's here so we can give you some shout outs. And we are going to take a quick commercial break. And when we do, we are going to come back with Leila Price. Hello, and welcome back, everyone. We are here with Leila Price, who is a true SPD hero, right? Leila has been in sterile processing for about 15 years now, and she is Triple Crown. She holds her CRCST, her CER, and her CHL. Woo woo. Go ahead, Miss Leela. And Leela also served as a subject matter expert and as an advisor to the Beyond Clean Advisory Council.
Oh.
Okay.
Hi.
Look, I know that I did not get everything. So, honey, tell us more about you.
Chimere, I have to say that you are one of the most beautiful light and spirits that I have gotten to meet authentically, just randomly at a conference. So when I tell people it's so important to go to conferences, you have to go because you never know who you're going to network with that may just pretty much change your life in some ways. So you never know. It's one of the great things about networking and those type of social atmospheres. I have to say that first. Then that thing is I have to correct. So my name is Lila. It's okay. Just know because everybody wants to say they give me that E, and I have a cousin named Leela. So it always so we used to play that game with each other. We would tell people that no, I'm Leela, and then she would go, no, I'm Lila. So it's so funny when I hear it. But anyway, I always laugh when I hear people say Leela because it makes me think of her instantly. So anyway,
Thank
I
you,
just wanted to say thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. Knowledge and Nonsense. I love this show. It's one of my favorites. And it gives so many people just a platform to expose themselves into our world on a different level. So I'm excited to see
absolutely.
you and be
Did I
here.
miss anything from your bio? I heard you did a book, right? Or co-authors or today?
Yes. And it's so funny that you mentioned it because it's 5 years. So we are 5 years post the pandemic, right? And it dawned on me recently. I'm like, oh my gosh, I wrote this in my little section 5 years ago. It's just amazing how things have changed and this how some things have never gone back to what they were previously to it. So yes, one of the wonderful co-authors of the book, Sharon Green Golden, Sharon Combs,
Oh,
Karen Cherry.
cool.
These women I'm in awe of them in every single way. And I was just so grateful that they chose me to be a part of this and really just excited to just have that moment in history with them. So it was a great experience. Um, and if you ever get the opportunity to co-author with any of those ladies, by all means, jump
Yeah,
at the task.
up and snatch that.
Yes.
Okay, look. Let me show some love. I see Rebecca, Kenneth, Tony. Who else did I see?
Kyrie, I see Kyrie. Hi.
Barry, Kyrie. Hello, everyone. Thank you guys for joining us. If you are just tuning in, I am here with Lila Price, right? So we are going to go ahead and get right on into it. We want to talk about SPD education nationwide and what that looks like, right? So being
Yes.
in processing, as long as you have, I know and myself that I've seen a lot of people come and go in this industry, and I always tell people that it is ever learning, ever
Mm,
growing, and ever changing. And the reason that I tell people that is because of technology. It changes every day, right? And so I make sure that people are really aware of what that's going to look like for them in the future.
mm.
So, can you give us or kind of talk about your take on technology and as it relates to SPD? Do you feel like we have the tools and the resources that we need to keep up?
Um, I would like to say yes, but I don't think we're not all SPDs are not created equal. So we're sometimes in situations where hospitals. So I've gone from teaching institutions where it felt like there wasn't a limit to how much money I could spend or what the budget was. If we needed it and it was justifiable, we had it, and that was just an easy ask. And then I've been in places where it's like, well, that's not in the budget. And so hearing those type of no's was a little different. And as I've grown in my career, so and it's even in places where I was maybe just interim, and it was just like, well, we didn't make that plan, so we have to wait another year or two. And I'm just like, oh, well, y'all need this today. Like we need to operate on this level now. So it's very different. I would say that because I've seen things grow and change, and we often get neglected, but I feel like if you're growing your ORs and you're growing those OR suites and you're getting the latest and greatest in that technology, you need to make sure that your reprocessing team is just as state of the art and in that facet. So I definitely say we need more support for those type of conversations. And you should have your leaders come and go through your department and see, because if it's looking as shiny and new as your OR, then maybe it's time for an upgrade. Maybe it's time for renovation.
Absolutely, absolutely. When we talk about just kind of as educators staying focused, do you have any kind of tips that you would give to an educator on things that they can do to make sure that they stay current on technology? Because, like I said, it changes all the time. So, like, what do you do, or just kind of some tips to help people stay in the know?
I definitely expose myself to wonderful seminars and conferences. I keep myself abreast to changes. Sometimes it's a lot of self-education. So for me, even as in the chapter that I'm in, we provide a lot of education, but because there's a lot of behind the scenes, a lot of movement going on, I don't often get to sit and be taught to. So those are usually the moments I really enjoy. I love going to a conference and having someone just teach me something and give me an opportunity to have those aha moments and come back even more excited and energized about what I'm going to show my team and how I'm going to take them forward in sterile processing. So I would say that's pretty much where it starts with me. I want to be up on the know of everything going on and expose myself to everything that's changing. I encourage people to stay active with their local chapters. With the national conferences are great, but sometimes we can't always get there. But find out what's going on locally for you and expose yourself to and challenge those leaders that are in those positions to offer more. You know, there's opportunities everywhere. But even with that, there's all these wonderful companies that have just quick little tutorials that you can just sit there and watch a podcast for an hour and or 60 minutes of your day, and now you have a point, you have a CE. So encouraging people to kind of take that initiative and invest in yourself. You got to go beyond what they're giving you. It's beyond the book. Now you're certified. Now what's next? Keep your certification, keep your CEs going, stay engaged.
Yes, I like that. When it comes to like seminars and education, you're right. Not everybody has the ability, and not every institution will send their educators or even their team to national conference. But there's a lot of stuff that is going on locally, and those things are informational as well. I learn new stuff every day, and I have been doing this 21 years, I think, at this point, and I'm still learning new stuff. There are still things that I come across, and I'm like, man, I've never seen that before. And so I have used change all the time. And so, like you said, like do that research, get out there. You have to really take that initiative to educate yourself. For the people who are on, if there are leaders, directors, executive directors, managers,
Absolutely.
talk to your team and see what type of investments you can give to educators. I got to tell you, being a person who has been to several conferences and seminars and webinars, etc., it is so informational, and it is an awesome resource, not just for your educators, for your leadership team. Right? For them to take that information back. So invest. Invest.
Make it a challenge that you want them to be. You know what they say, it's a saying somewhere that great leaders surround themselves by people who are better than them. And anyway, I love to be surrounded by people who are so much more intelligent, because I'm going to always learn something from them.
Yes. I'm like a little sponge. I ask questions. I got 1,000 for you.
And I love when I have students that are coming through and they have all those questions, because I'm just like, oh, I love it, because then you start seeing the light bulbs go off, and it's amazing. It's an amazing thing to see, and it keeps me grounded, because I'm like, I remember when I was a student working a full-time job, trying to get my hours, and just wanting to be somebody, and someone believed in me, so I'm going to believe in them and give them the opportunity to learn and grow, but challenge them in that way. Tell them to go, well, look up the IFU and then come back to me. Let's talk about it. What did you say?
I love that one. I will take my staff to the computer in a minute and say, oh, wait, let's pull it up on OneSource.
Exactly.
I'll show you how to do that.
And then show me something new.
There we go. Teach.
And then challenge them to teach the rest of everyone else. So I'm gonna put so now you know what you've done. Now you're going to do the next end service.
I will tell my team in a minute, each one, teach one.
Yes, I love that phrase too. Yes.
There you go. Each one teach one. Share the knowledge. Don't gatekeep it.
Please.
And it's not just for educators to educate everyone. It's for all of us. If you have the knowledge, share it with your team. That's how we all come up. Instead of you coming up, we all
Exactly.
get to come up.
Oh, and we need
So
to do
share
more
the
of that.
knowledge.
We need to encourage each other to do more of that on a
Yes.
constant. So yes, I love that though. Each one teach one. I remember. I haven't said that in a while. I'm going to start saying that again. I remember that. And I'll think of you.
Look, Sharon said, what made you gravitate towards educating?
Ooh, so I wanted to be an educator probably like instantly when I was taking the course, right? Because I had a great educator. Shout out to Will Logan. He was my educator. I was taking the course. He was my instructor for the course, and I was just like, well, I could teach a class. and so, he was like, well, let's get certified first. I was like, okay. So I had to take on different things, and but I really wanted to be an educator in sterile processing when I realized that there were so many gaps and deficiencies from what people were telling me. Somebody was telling me to do one thing some way, and someone was telling me to do something different over here. And I was like, well, who do I listen to? Who do I believe? And I was just like, I just need to get these hours. I need to be able to move forward, or I just need to make it on this shift. And then I started realizing that there was a method behind it. Didn't know what IFU was. No one had explained that to me. So I'm probably maybe months into the game at this point. But then I realized that there's a reason for these things. And so when I started to inquire more and ask more, someone thought they were being smart by saying, well, go look this up or go find it. I was like, oh, you got the right one, because I'm gonna go find the answer, and now I'm gonna share it with everybody that will stand still long enough for me to tell them. And so we'll go through the process. And then I just realized that I really want to be able to hold people to a standard. It shouldn't be enough for me to say that, Miss So-and-so said that's how we do this. No, we need to there needs to be an actual protocol that we follow, an SOP, whatever you want to call it, that we're going to do the same way every time. And that's what we're looking for. There's a standard here. That's what the process.
Set the tone and be the standard, right? Becca is saying gaining knowledge and growing professionally is a form of compensation that lasts a lifetime. I wanted to make sure that I point that out, because one thing that I used to always tell people, years and years ago, I was in a situation where I was acting manager. I was a instrument technician. However, I was acting manager for 2 years as an instrument technician. And everybody, they were just upset with me, and they just didn't understand it. They just didn't see it, et cetera, et cetera. And I used to tell those people, once I learn it, nobody can take it from me.
You're right about
I know
that.
where I'm trying to go. So if this is what I have to do, okay. If this is the path that's presenting to me, okay. But once I learn it, ain't no going back.
You're right.
So Becca, thank you, because you reminded me about that. And I tell people, like staff along the way, I've told, once you get the knowledge, nobody can take it from you.
That's very true.
So I saw Kyrie say, invest in yourself. That's absolutely why. Invest in yourself.
I tell people, you got to know your worth. Don't forget the tax. but you have to know that, because this job market is a challenging game, and sometimes people won't see it. And I was literally having this conversation with someone on my way home today about a place where she's working, and wanting to give someone an opportunity. And sometimes it's okay to know that you have to grow somewhere else. It's okay.
Yes.
Because if you're in a situation where you are, it's not doing it for you. They're not giving you the education, the support that you want. And it's sometimes you just have to know that you can grow someplace else, and it's okay. Well, I'm hiring. If you're in Philadelphia, come find me.
People say coach up and coach out. You can grow up and grow out as well.
One of my favorite things. I tell people that all the time. I'm like, I'm gonna coach you up, or I'm gonna coach you out. But you're getting coached, because I say that a lot, and it's gotten me some great jobs, because they were like, oh, she's gonna come in here and change things. I'm like, no, I'm gonna still be gentle and fair and kind, but I'm gonna let you know that that's part of my job. That's who I am. I'm here to coach you through this process and to make you better. And if you don't want to be better, then you're gonna get tired of me talking to you on a regular basis about how to be better, and you want to decide where you want to go.
Because I need to educate you. I see Anthony said it's such a blessing to be able to pour into someone else's cup. Absolutely.
Yes.
Says many who do not invest in themselves begin to suffer the unfulfillment tax later in their careers.
Yes.
Ooh, that
Mm.
was
Say that
a
one more time. Say that one.
drop. Many who do not invest in themselves begin to suffer the unfulfillment tax later in their careers.
Mm.
That is so true. That is so true in life, not even just in your
Yes.
profession. That is so true. When you get to the later and realize
Mm.
you haven't done anything to invest in yourself,
Yes.
ooh, that's a mic drop. That's a mic drop. Look,
I would say
before we
that for
go
the first
on,
few years of
go
my
ahead.
career, it was like that.
I'm sorry.
I would say the first few years of my career were like that. I think about the time I wasted, didn't go back to school, didn't allow for that institution to invest back into me. I'm sitting here giving you full-time work, working hard, and that tuition reimbursement was right there. And how long it took me to get to the point where I'm like, oh, I need to make sure that when I leave this job, I'm leaving with another piece of paper, something that is worthy of all this time I invested into them and gave to them. So I definitely, and that's something that I learned from Jeffrey Wilkins. He told me that he was like, don't you leave another job without a degree or this, and the other. And I was like, you're absolutely right. It's someone who's working on their doctorate now. And I just look at that and go, you're absolutely right. I'm going to invest more into me. And that's sometimes how you have to get it. Sometimes you just have to say, okay, you may not believe that I'm going to be in this position of leadership, but that's okay. I'm going to go back and invest in myself, go back to school, educate myself, and move to the next level. Go get that next certification. Continue to make yourself marketable so you can continue to grow.
Absolutely. Look, this has been awesome, but we need to take a short break.
Okay.
So when we come back, you guys, we are going to be back with Leila Price and we are going to be talking SPD education. All right, we're going to take a short break.
Hi everyone, I'm Wesley Luke. I am a sterile processing instructor at Southern Regional Technical College. I'm also the Community Affairs Director for the Georgia chapter of Sterile Processing, GSPA. I've been tasked with the challenge of be the change you want to see. And for my change, I want to say engage and participate in community affairs and to try to get our local members involved in community affairs within our chapter. So I'd like to challenge some of the local leaders of our profession to the challenge of be the change you want to see. So one, Deanne Richards, Nicole Collier, Gina Chambers, Katrina Bohannon, and Felicia Akins. Be the change you want to see.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Knowledge or Nonsense. And I am with Leila Price, and we are talking SPD education, right? So look, guys, before we left off, we were having some really good conversation about technology and SPD. I do want to go back to some of these comments because I saw some awesome comments here. Latoya Chapman said, I never wanted to be the only person who is the answer. That is so true. You are an educator, and I know all the educators can totally, absolutely understand that. Let's see. As Sharon said, it's like the third leg of the 440 in track.
Ooh.
Are blowing past you. Look, it went over my head, that reference, because I'm not track. I don't know if you know, Leila.
Look, I'm like, look, which part of the race are we in? Because if I'm the third leg and I'm trying to bring it home to the anchor, yeah, that's and everybody's blowing past me. I feel like you run so much harder to catch up because you don't want your anchor to keep pushing, as you don't want them to push as hard. So I get that. And we're just there to support. Like, your educator is really your support system. And in some places you wear multiple hats. I know I do. And my title is a quality and education manager for sterile processing. And a lot of times I am in the thick of everything. I get pulled in so many different directions. But I would say that that's the future, right? The future is knowing that your role, everybody's role is education. We are all responsible for the why we do things and in answering to this process that we've put in place. And so I don't need you just to hit buttons on the machine. I need you to know what these cycles mean and interpret that information appropriately. I need you to understand that if you don't load something correctly, if a biological is not placed in the right area, those could have some other consequences. So we're all educators. We're training people to do so. It's not just about competencies, even though I know that that's a huge part of the role. But it's how we live this every day, so that when competency period comes along, we're not pulling our hair out trying to figure out how we're going to see these gaps in our education, because it happens to all of us. We realize that somebody has fallen behind in the curve, and we're like, how do you not know this? And you're sitting there baffled, like,
let me pull you up here with you because
you know how to do this. Okay. And I take it on the chin, and I'm gonna put like, that's a reflection of me. So now I got to work a little bit harder to make sure that you're up to speed with everyone else in your shift, or even within the department or in the organization as a whole. So I think most educators, we all take pride in making sure that our team is well equipped and ready to go out there.
I like that you said that when you said well equipped, because I want to talk about the tools and the resources, right? And so the tools and the resources that educators have available to them, but then also it's not just about the tools and the resources, it's also about the program and the person, right? So you can have all the tools and the resources that you need, but, right, you know what I'm about to say, right? But maybe the information is not getting out the way that you intended. Or maybe the information is getting out, but it's not being sustained, right? So from your point of view, just thinking about your career and your history of education, whose responsibility is it to make sure that when that education is rolled out, that it's being adhered to, right? That people, that these new processes are being completed, these tasks, that everything is going the way that it should be.
Well, I would say that it's the leaders' jobs to make sure that we're following these things, that there's accountability for it. But I tell people all the time, I'm like, well, you signed the in-service document. you don't know what this is. Like, I'm just like, you were there, because I remember you were standing there, and when we said, were there any questions, you said nope, and you signed the paper and you walked on out the room. So, or you went on and did your task that day. So those things it bothers me. I take it personally sometimes. I'm like, because there was plenty of opportunity for you to tell me in the moment. That's what it was. So sometimes I realize that sometimes certain information is not ready for the group. Sometimes we do need people who are much more one-on-one learners, our small groups. They want to have that opportunity. And so I have I struggle with this on a regular basis, trust me when I say, but I try to make myself available on multiple shifts. It's difficult and challenging because my overnight team does not get the same love that that day shift gets, because there's many meetings that I'm required to be there during the day and a lot of challenges. But I try to make myself available at least once a month. I try to make sure that I'm there on an overnight shift. Whether that means I come in at 2 a.m. and I'm rocking out with them until, I'm rocking out with the team until 9, 10 o'clock the next day, or if I come in really early at 4, or if I stay late over and I come in at, at 6 or 7 and work with them. But I try to give as much balance as I can to that shift, because they often are neglected, and there's a lot of things that they may not see on a regular basis. But today that room ran over, so now it's down there at 11 o'clock or 11:30, and second shift is gone, and they don't. I'm like, what am I supposed to do?
A lot. It's more common than you know, right. And a lot of educators deal with stuff like that. I see someone in the comments says certifications are base knowledge, but competencies are critical, and they are. Someone else says in addition to tools and resources, what else impacts education? Yes, we're going to get to that part.
Yes.
Becca says real success lies in investing in people, empowering them to reach their full potential, and keep moving that needle forward. I'm really glad you said keep moving the needle forward, because as educators, I think like Leela said, we all take pride in the work that we do in educating our teams and making sure that they have that knowledge base. And so when you look back and you're like, wait a minute, I talked about that, I educated on, I put a sign up, the whole 9, and we're still not there. How did we get here? What happened? And I do want to say, because this is a huge platform, that if you're in leadership positions, or you're in a position where you have the ability to fight for those additional resources, understand that your educators may have it hard. Mm-hmm. It's hard for one person to service one facility, because you have to hit all of those people, right? So just imagine, and leaders, I want you to just challenge yourself to take into consideration, if your educator wears multiple hats like you do, take into consideration if your educator is a departmental educator, are they a system educator? Like, what are the expectations? Think about the current state of your department. Think about the future state, what you want to see, and then be realistic with your expectations, because it can be very hard when you have to cater to 50, 60, 70 people, depending on whether or not you're departmental or system. Right?
Very
so
true.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Very true. I'm just saying, agreeing with you totally. Yes. And it's a lot to digest. So as a new educator is going to handle things a lot differently than someone who has a little bit more seasons, who may have been doing this for a few years. So I totally agree with you. Just to go back a little bit, I definitely want to make sure that we stress upon I love doing competencies. I think they're very important. I do think that we need to challenge ourselves a little bit more to think in a more realistic role. So if you've been a technician, then you understand the other challenges that come in with responsibilities, your task assignment, whatever it is you're scheduled to do that day. And in addition to that, someone calls out. There's a lot of other factors that play into why things may not get done appropriately and in the right space. But I challenge people, like, let your leaders know, because sometimes we just don't know. I find out the things that are wrong when I'm working off shift, right? When I'm not in the department at the right time. I'm like, this thing hasn't been working for how many weeks? Y'all didn't tell me. Nobody said anything. Okay, let me go ahead and put this in. And sometimes it's a simple thing, but sometimes we have to remove ourselves from our normal role to kind of see these things. If I'm not spending time back there at the sink level with my team, how do I know that there's a leak on that faucet? How do I know I need to replace that spray arm or whatever is going on there? Like, these are things that they may not feel. They just feel like get lost in motion. Well, I said something to so-and-so 2 weeks ago and they never did anything. And I'm just like, well, it's okay. So keep telling so-and-so over and over again until you see action happen. It's okay. Over communicate with me, please do, because somebody's gonna stop me 5 more times before I make it back to my office to get to that computer and type it up. So please, I'm okay with that. But I think we just need to empower our technicians to feel more comfortable in those situations, because oftentimes I don't think they feel that empowerment, and they may shy away from saying things because they don't want to be that person that always has a complaint. I don't look at it that way.
Ooh, that's a good one. And man, I hate, like you, I don't look at it that way. I want you to step up. I want you to say something. But not only do I want you to be empowered to speak up and say something, I also want you to be empowered to do. So, as an educator, because I am an educator, I realized that educators have become a drop off. Have you ever had a desk that wasn't really in an office? It was just kind of out in the open. And then the next thing you know, every day, everyone has dropped a little something on that desk for you. And you're like, what is all of this on my desk? Educators, I feel like, are a drop off for questions. And so even if the questions are not a education question, they come to the educator. And that's something that I see quite a bit. And I don't know if it's because the age of the instrument tech that we have now, we are coming into a new age of instrument tech. There are a lot of new people into this field and finding interest in this field. It is gaining a lot of popularity, I feel like. And so we have a lot of new people coming in, and everything drops right where we are. And so my thing is to let me empower you to do that.
Thank you.
Oh, it's broken? And you told her 5 times? That's okay. Let me show you how to put this work order in.
Yes.
Right? Let me give you this number for IT. Let me show you how to call biomed. You don't have to work in these conditions. Let's fix it right away.
And I'm smiling because I had a technician. She's been there for maybe 7 months, and I saw when I came back today, I heard that a piece of equipment was down, and the work order was already put in, and she put it in. And I was up and like, well, isn't this great? I was up and like, I didn't have to go figure out what was going on and track it down and find out when. I'm up and like, it was already in. So I was very thankful. So I know she's been paying attention. I know that she's being trained by her supervisor well enough to know her supervisor was there, but she made her do the work order, because things will go down when there's no one around. I need you to know how to do these things independent of me. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, you need to know how to do these things when I'm not present. So I love those moments. I love to see when people are challenging themselves to take on a different level of responsibility. It's not management's job to always make sure that things are running appropriately. You're here, you're working with the equipment. Empower yourself to do these things, to take charge and make sure these things are done. So I love that. I love to see those moments happen.
Yes, I see Becca. I'm not sure who Becca is, but she says, just learned at the MAXA seminar, that signs may not be the most effective tool. If signs aren't the answer, what really drives compliance and behavior change in SPD? Ooh, what strategies work for you? I like that question. You want to take that?
I love it because I feel like wall charts and things like that become just wonderful pictures on the wall sometimes. And I'm up and like, well, when's the last time you looked at this to give you guidance to go through the process? And I'm guilty of it too, because I don't look at a wall chart unless I really haven't seen something for a while. I'm up like, how long are we supposed to let that soak again? Oh, okay. The wall chart says 30 minutes. I'm gonna let it sit there 30 minutes. But it's good for a quick reference when you don't know. But I think that a lot of times we get in the mode of, well, I know how to do this because I've been doing it. So I don't need to pay attention to this wall chart that's here. But I will say that I agree. I don't think it is the most effective tool. But that's when we have to re-educate, right? Once we go through a cycle of something within a few months, I've hired some new technicians, so it's okay for refreshers. I saw something posted a minute ago about remedial competencies, and I'll get back to that because I remember somebody was very upset when I told them they had a remedial. They took that offensively, and I was like, well, remedial doesn't mean that you are slow or don't comprehend. It means that we need to review. I was like, that does not mean that you are not competent to do your job. It means that there's some areas here that we need to review and work on together, so that I can make sure that you are able to be in this space and work independently. And I am full confidence in me knowing that you can handle any situation that comes into this space. But it's interesting when I see that, because I remember somebody, I mean, this was some years ago, but she remedial, like you would have thought I had told her something bad about her mother. The way I said it, she was so upset with me, and we were able to get over it. She's the one we communicate. We're very friendly with each other now. But I remember she did not like that word remedial, and she did not. And she wanted to be removed from her file. I am not remedial. Like, oh, so now we have this negative connotation on the word because it meant something negative to her. It did not mean anything negative to me. But as an educator, we have to assess all the time. That's what we do. We are constantly assessing. It's the process, because maybe I realized that through this process, we need to do something different, or we need to figure out how to make this process better for everyone involved, because it works for this person over here, but doesn't work for you over here. This shift doesn't seem to be able to get it done in this amount of time. So let's figure out a way that works for everyone. I think that's really what it is. It's constantly assessing, reassessing, and changing things to work with the flow, because that's what we're here for.
Love that. Constantly assessing. I want to just pull that out. Constantly assessing. If you are a technician and you are here, know that your educators are constantly assessing. We are constantly looking at the workflow. We are constantly looking at the process. We are constantly looking at policies. We are constantly looking at IFUs. We are reading AAMI. We are reading AORN. We are reading all of that information to make sure that we are staying current. So I don't want you to feel like, why are you watching me? What are you doing? I don't want you to feel that negative, like you said, connotation on remedial. No, that's our job. We want to make sure that we stay current. We want to make sure the department stays current, so that we are always know. Tandria said, it went away. Yes, you have to keep teaching over and over again. We forget things all the time, or they get set in their own way. Let me tell you, when I was the manager of the department, I would tell my educators, I need you to set up education, right, for the year. So they had education they had to set up with the year, with the vendor come and educate us on your process. But I don't want you to just come once, because the first time, you probably didn't hear any of that, right? Second time, you got about 35% of that, maybe 25% of that. The third time, we're at 50. The fourth time, I think we might be on to something.
Yes.
And that's just the way that it is. Sometimes people need to hear things multiple times before it really sticks, right? I see you. Looks like you were going to say something.
No, it's just like, I don't mind. I'm up here like, bring them back 3 months from now. I don't care. I've had one vendor come in. I want to say in the year that I've been there, almost a year, not even a full year, I have seen him about 7 times, and that's okay, because until it is perfect, and then it may not be perfect ever, he's gonna come and visit and hang out and talk and go through the motions. And he doesn't mind, so I don't mind. So yes, come on in. I will put him in the system. He come on through. And I want you to walk back there and do it in live, real time. Like, I don't need the in-service at 7 o'clock when I don't have the trays down here. I need you to come when we're in the thick of it at 10 o'clock, when that whole case card comes downstairs. Help us go through this and go through the process of cleaning. It's a very difficult, challenging set. It's robotic, and I won't say too much more else about it, but he knows the challenges that are there. So he comes and he's okay with it. And we have his number posted up on my prayer life, because there may be a problem with them getting this test done. And I don't want to have to be the one that always has to answer the call. I don't want to be the one. I may be busy. I may not be available. They need to be able to reach out to you and say, hey, I'm not getting this test. It's not passing. What do I need to do? And sometimes it's a simple thing, change the connections, boom, it passed. But I love that he's that open about coming in, and that the team is very receptive to going through it over and over again. Because what you're not going to tell me is, I don't know how to do this. Because I may have been here 7 times. You know how to do this.
Accountability for your education, right? Sharon says, repetition is the father of skill. Rehearsal is the mother of learning. Ooh, I learned that from my speaker coach. I like that. Let me say it again. Repetition is the father of skill. Rehearsal is the mother of learning. I really like that. Look, guys, we're going to take a quick break, and then we will be right back. everyone, and welcome back. We are talking SPD education with Leela Price. And Leela, before we get off, I have two more questions that I really want to get to. And so the first one is regarding to specific resources. So when it comes to AORN, best practices, AAMI, ANSI, shift leaders, supervisors, etc., what is your number one go-to for setting the standard?
Um, I start with the IFUs because they're going to give me the most specific information about what's going on there with that instrument set. And then honestly, it's the policies because if the policies are not in line with what our practices are, then I have a lot of more work to do, and that's fine. When I go to new facilities, that's usually I spend a lot of time working on policies. I always tell people this. I'm like, pay attention to how many nurse educators are in your facility because as are if you there is they outnumber you by dozens in most cases, especially the larger your facility is. But all that does is just give you more fuel to say this is why I need additional resources. This is why I may need to invest more in preceptors and things of that nature, and why I need to spend more time going to conferences and things of that nature because there's no one else to do this other piece of this work but me. So I would say people advocate for the things you need in your role, in addition to advocating, but advocating for what your team needs, because your team's going to need a lot from you. But if you don't have the tools to be successful, you're not going to find that satisfaction you need every day that can walk into that building. You're going to be defeated as soon as you get in there because you don't have what you need to be successful at your job. So I definitely do. Now I'll go through and I'll look through AAMI, and I have had the wonderful experience of even going to the AAMI Standards Week and sitting in the room where those decisions get made. And it's a mind blowing, life changing experience. I will say if you I sit on the Advantage. That's one of the lists I didn't put on there, but I'm on the Advantage Support Services Standards Committee. And I had the opportunity to go in September and just be present. And when I tell you, it's just like, this is how this happens. Never knew how that whole process happens. We just get the book, AAMI, and I go through, look at the sections and see what's relative to what I need to do and move on with my life. But I get to see some of the process of how these things become these standards and the voting and all the battle back and forth. And it's wonderful debate, but it's just, it's a happy debate. But at the end of the day, you have to be able to show why these things need to be put into these documents. But I would say become more engaged in those processes because these are things that govern us. And so if we don't have a voice in how you're being governed, that shows that you will just kind of take a sit down and take everything that they give you. If we don't find what we need, we will find ourselves on the short end of the stick all the time.
Absolutely.
But as a user, we need to be present in those spaces. Find a reason to be on there. Talk to your team and say, "Hey, I would like to represent us at the AAMI standards meeting, so I can have a vote on these issues that matter to our departments and what we are doing." So I'm challenging people to become more involved. I didn't know how important it was until I was exposed to it, and now I can't talk enough about it. So I want people to be there in those spaces, learn from those groups. Reach out to those people that sit on those co-chairs, all these wonderful meetings. Have a voice because you don't realize that things will happen, and you'll see it in the standards that will change. As T79 is coming back up around again, you'll see these things have changed, and you'll be trying to figure out, well, who said and why? Well, you didn't have a voice because you didn't go to a meeting and you didn't stand up and say why we needed to have this voice. So please be mindful. Why we vote, but honestly and truthfully, this is one of the more important things that it governs what we do, and you have to want to be active in that process. You have to be. What is it? The challenge from GSPA to be the change. Yes.
Up and say something. Be the change. Can you take it back to Sean Flynn? He says, teach process and system thinking versus task specific. I like that one. I like that one. Look, we have 2 more minutes. So before we go, I want to make sure. What has happened here?
I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Here we go. Something happened to my computer, but I'm back. That's what happens when you're live. Do you have any practical ways to streamline education for staff so that they stay informed and they are not overloaded? So just a couple of tips, because we only have one more minute, 1 to 2 tips on how educators can make sure that staff stay informed.
I feel like this is it's hard to put into two. Let me say,
Okay.
one, I would say just I pay attention to the errors. I pay attention to the things that I see people get, the quality issues, because that lets me know individually what those people may need. You know, because I might be like, okay, you keep making it. Maybe it's timing. Maybe it's not understanding. Maybe it's having too many trays out. So it makes me want to look into your work habits and things of that nature, especially if it's easy, simple mistakes. And then some things more technical. So I realized sometimes their soft skills need to be worked on. So I pay attention to what the tracking system is telling me, because it's going to give me the whole story. I just need to kind of like dive in and work on it individually, but also treating people as individuals. We are all, we cannot mass produce SPD techs and clone them into being something else. So I have to take people at where they are and build upon that and work on a game plan to help them. Because I feel like if you're a worthy enough technician for me to put that energy into you, then it's going to pay off. Now, some people, I can't help you with your personal situation where you don't know how to get to work on time. I don't know what to tell you other than go to bed and stay off that TikTok. I don't know what else to tell you. But if it comes to this wanting to know more about how to organize your time, how to set up rag, how to move that work around, I can give you tricks and tips to help you with that.
Thank
yeah,
you.
I think it's the individual person. That's what I want to say. Nothing else is let's not take a big approach. Let's work with that individual and then work our way through.
So look, guys, I'm going to give you a small recap for tools. If you're in education, these are some of the tools you have available to you. Walk your department, do some rounding, because you'll never know what's going awry if you don't have a look at what's going on, right? Attend seminars, conferences, webinars, as many as you can. Advocate for preceptors. That's for the upper leadership as well. Preceptors are needed. Your educators need that. Use AAMI, right? Be engaged. And try to get on some of those boards who are making some of these governing standards, right? Try to participate in that. You also want to use your tracking systems and look at the errors. They are going to tell you something. Guys, this was absolutely awesome. Thank you so much, Leela, for joining me today. It was so good to talk to you. I appreciate you so much. Look, before we leave, I see someone says, is your book on Amazon? I want to make sure we say that.
It is, and it's available on Amazon. Please look up while the pandemic. It is still available. Someone purchased it recently, and I saw it. I'm like, oh my gosh! So I'm excited. I will definitely be in Louisville, Kentucky. I will have a few copies. I will be signing books. Miss Sharon Ringolden, I know for sure we'll have some books. She will be ready to sign. So we will be together at some point, and we will be happy to sign anyone who purchases a book on the spot. So come find us.
If possible, can we please put the title of the book? If possible, can we pull that up so that the people can see it? And while they're doing that, I just want to say, like I said, thank you guys. Until next time, this was absolutely awesome. I will see you guys next week on Tuesday at the same place, at the same time. Leela, where can the people find you before we leave?
I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook. I'm in let's see, there's a couple different groups that I'm on as administrator. Let's see, where else can you find me? Instagram. But if you I'm currently the president-elect of the MAXA chapter. So so you can find me through HSPA. If you go into the MAXA and you're looking for MAXA, MACSA, I will be listed there on the charter as president-elect. So I'm very excited about this year. Gonna do some amazing things, and I'm around. I'll find me out. Somehow, some way, people get me. So find me.
All right. Look, you guys, again, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate everyone who has tuned in, who has liked, who has subscribed, and who has just shown your support throughout this entire season. Thank you so very much, and we will see you again next Tuesday. Same place, same time.
Absolutely. Thanks.